is officially being recorded. I want to share a little information about 1776. So 1776 is our strategic partner in offering these workshops. And they're really a network of entrepreneurial incubators that exist to help entrepreneurs succeed and reach maximum potential. They have a vast resource of mentors and virtual programs to help entrepreneurs work remotely and safely. 1776 hopes these workshops will bring a sense of connectivity and engagement. So Conscious Capitalism of Central Maryland thanks 1776 for their strategic partnership. So welcome everyone here. Welcome to our Higher Purpose, Harnessing Purpose Amidst Change, the third of 5 workshops offered through Conscious Capitalism of Central Maryland. I want to invite Wendy, Baird, and Sandy Young into the room, their voices into the room. Wendy Baird is the owner of Insight 180 Brand Consulting and Design Company, and more importantly, she's on our advisory board. Sandy Young is the Secretary of Conscious Capitalism of Central Maryland. So I'll leave it to you.
Thank you, Wendy. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm the other Wendy, Wendy Baird. I'm the owner and president of Insight 180 Brand Consulting and Design. We've been in business for 20 years in Ellicott City, and we work with mostly purpose-driven B2B advisory firms and nonprofit clients to help them clarify and focus and differentiate their brands. And I'm especially excited about facilitating a discussion about purpose because branding and purpose are very much related. And when we're talking about how to make a company, a business, a nonprofit, an agency stand apart, it really comes from leadership and coming from authenticity and often the aspirational part of how you want to make a difference in the world. So these are very much tied in. I'm also on the leadership team of Conscious Capitalism. I run the Marketing Communications Committee, and I do that with the help of Sandy Young, and Sandy's going to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Sandy Young, professional engineer and certified construction manager here in the DC area. I'm also the secretary for C3MD, and I help to write their blogs. Working towards my higher purpose of creating appealing workplaces for my clients helps me to get out of bed every day. So why don't we get into it, Wendy?
Sure thing. So what is purpose? Of one of the 4 pillars, purpose is the reason that your business exists. And more than that, it refers to the difference that you're trying to make in the world. And it really gets to the crux of the matter in conscious capitalism. It gets to the why. Why does your business exist beyond making money? What impact do you wish to have? A great purpose acts like a powerful magnet that can align all stakeholders, whether you're running a large corporation, whether you're in a government agency, or whether you're running a small business. Your purpose can act as your compass. So it's important to talk about these words, purpose, mission, vision, and distinguishing the difference between them. A lot of times people use these words interchangeably, but there is a very important distinction. John Mackey and Raj Sisodia from their book, Conscious Capitalism, define it this way, that purpose refers to the difference that you're trying to make in the world. This is the impact part, the elevating humanity part. The mission is the core strategy that must be undertaken to fulfill that purpose. And the vision is a vivid, imaginative concept or view of how the world will look once your purpose has been largely realized. So what is so important about purpose? It's not merely a tagline. It's really the fundamental reason for being in business. So trust in companies and institutions have plummeted over the last 2 decades, heck, in the last year maybe. It's plummeted. At the same time, the number of choices in the marketplace has skyrocketed. So with so many options, a growing number of consumers are examining the greater meaning of what they purchase and who they affiliate with or where they work. So what's the story behind your company? What is their carbon footprint? How do they make an impact in their local and their global communities? How do they treat their employees? Does the organization's values reflect my values? What contribution are they making to the world? more and more creative entrepreneurs, frustrated Gen Xers, tired baby boomers, and the millennials that are coming into leadership position, they're searching for more meaning, creating businesses on their own terms and doing things differently. Well, because they can. So they're finding that their tribes where purpose and meaning are resonating more than ever. Inspired leaders work from the inside out, and they start with why. They know their purpose, the greater impact that they can have on the world. So where does one begin when trying to find their purpose? We start with why. We're going to watch a little bit of a video here.
Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do, 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we're better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You ready to buy a computer from me? All I did was reverse the order of the information. People don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. But we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple, or a phone from Apple, or a DVR from Apple. But as I said before, Apple's just a computer company. There's nothing that distinguishes them structurally from any of their competitors. Their competitors are all equally qualified to make all of these products. In fact, they tried. A few years ago, Gateway came out with flat-screen TVs. They're eminently qualified to make flat-screen TVs. They've been making flat-screen monitors for years. Nobody bought one.
So we'll stop there. Of course, that's Simon Sinek, who wrote the book, Start With Why. I don't know if that's appearing backwards or forward at this point, but wonderful book if you haven't read that. And that, of course, was his TED Talk, which is probably taken from his TED Talk, which has probably been seen by hundreds of thousands, if not millions of viewers at this point. So where does one begin in finding their purpose? Maybe start with why. And we would love to ask you, what is your why? Do you have a business or do you work for a company? And either way, what is that company's why? We'd love for you to put your answers in the chat. Do you know what your company's why is? Do you know the purpose? Do you know the greater impact you wish to have on the world? So a little bit about this while you're chatting, please, please feel free to share. I see Wendy's putting something in. Speakers, maybe you can share some of your purpose and why, and we'll get to that soon. So your purpose does need to be authentic. It needs to be simple and aspirational. That almost sounds like an oxymoron, but we'll explain more in a minute. It's your reason for being rooted in your desire to impact or change or to elevate or to transform.
Sure, Wendy, there's a couple. My why is eliminating the stigma and shame of alcoholism and creating celebration around zero alcohol beverages.
I love that, and I know exactly who that is. And I see another one above
Collecting,
that one.
yep, collecting domestic violence evidence is hard and prosecuting abusers is harder.
Okay, great. So let's move on to the next slide. Feel free to share those, and we're going to share some of the purpose statements. And this is why I say that it's simple and aspirational. These are not taglines, but we all recognize the Southwest connecting people to what's important in their lives. Delta's purpose, to transform the way people feel every day through water. I mean, they're talking about transforming the way people feel. These are big aspirational things, and yet they're very simple phrases. And that's, you want to try to, in going through all of the big ideas that you have, to pare it down to the simplest, most simple stated phrase that you can. Johnson & Johnson's improving health for humanity. Wow, that's big and that's impactful. REI, to awaken a lifelong love of the outdoors. That's their purpose. That guides everything they do. So simple, aspirational, and the reason that they exist.
There's a few more here, Wendy, in the chat box.
Yeah, let's
to align one's career with who they are at their core and their purpose.
Very good.
Helping others live their best life and reach success by teaching them the importance of why their wardrobe and home office environments are their calling card, how those things tell their unique story.
Good, good.
Giving victims a legal voice.
Okay, very good. I love these. And I think even the more aspirational, the better. I love it. Let's share, Sandy, we've got a case study on Unilever just to kind of show you the depth in which a simple, simply phrased purpose can go.
Sure, Unilever's purpose is to make sustainable living commonplace. And you know, Wendy, healthy living just stems from that. A few years ago, Unilever had a hand washing initiative across Asia, Africa, and Latin America to promote their 125-year-old Life Buoy soap brand. They engaged a lot of partners in this extensive initiative, including nonprofits, the UN, and even some of their competitors like Procter & Gamble were involved. Their messaging reached 1 billion people. And the resultant study that they completed showed that hand washing reduced many common health ailments in childhood and in children and adults across these countries. People saw the health benefits, and not only did they continue washing their hands, but they also started buying soap. And this led to Life Buoy becoming the world's best-selling soap. So by focusing on a social mission and Unilever's healthy living purpose, they were able to create added benefits for their corporation. So Wendy, I wonder, what are other reasons for why purpose is important?
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons. Purpose can help a company set its long-term business strategy. Oftentimes we'll see companies that cast the net way too wide. Purpose can help kind of define that and set priorities. It can attract customers. It can also attract employees. Like we talked about, more and more people are looking for meaning in their life. So when a company has a purpose that they're guided by, that can be the deciding factor in recruiting good people. A purpose can differentiate and create competitive advantage. It inspires innovation. It increases brand trust and loyalty and helps the company endure, which we're hoping to talk about a little bit more with our panelists. and it positively impacts employees. When everybody's speaking from the same page and you're aligned in purpose, it can make all the difference. So what happens if we lose our sense of purpose? You know, just as challenges or adverse circumstances can be a catalyst for growth, can the opposite be true? What happens when events cause purpose to diminish? Say, a devastating flood in Ellicott City or a global pandemic. We've been seeing a lot of companies having to make shifts and transform the way they do business. And what we're wondering is how have they been able to do that, and are they using their purpose to help guide those shifts? So in the next slide, no one can take your purpose away from you. It is your real identity, and it has a resilience and staying power in a way that nothing else will. When your purpose is clear, leadership teams can make quicker, better, and bolder decisions, leading to overall superior performance. Purpose-informed decision-making is a critical connection point between clarity of purpose and superior performance, financially and otherwise. And that really is the perfect lead-in to our panel discussion and our speakers today. I think when we were planning this and we had our run through last week, one of our panelists said, purpose gives clarity on what you're willing to do in order to survive. Purpose gets you through the hard times. And so with that, I would love to introduce our panel to you. And we're really excited to have some small businesses who are all part of the Central Maryland chapter of Conscious Capitalism. Because while it's great to hear from large companies and follow what Whole Foods does and Costco and Southwest and these big companies with big, huge budgets, I think there's a lot of conscious capitalists who are running smaller businesses and medium-sized businesses, and I'm very excited to hear from them today. So without further ado, I would love to introduce you to our panel, Liz Richardson, who's COO and co-founder of Indigo Inc. with her husband, Matt. Indigo Inc. is a digital printing company in Columbia, Maryland. And in addition to running a business, she's a musician and she enjoys spending as much time outside as possible. And we have Wendy Slaughter, who's the owner, realtor of the Wendy Slaughter team of Elevate Real Estate Brokerage. Sorry, that's a long name. But she's been in business for 11 years, more than 11 years. And her business is serving as a place to live her values, and she strives to elevate humanity through business every day. And Josh Massey is a COO and co-founder of Ortis Academy, which actually started as a nonprofit and became a for-profit company. And now they call themselves a for-purpose company. So we're excited to be talking to them. And what we're going to do is start with the next slide, Sandy, which is we're going to ask everyone this question, and then we'll have them in speaker view, nice and big, so you can see who they are. Who are you? What do you do? And how do you define purpose for your business? And with that, I would love to start with Liz. Richard.
Hi. Well, Wendy gave the formal introduction on who I am and what I do, so I guess I need to get a little more personal than that. So Matt and my husband Matt and I started Indigo Inc. 17 years ago. So we've been at this for a while, and we wanted to create. Basically, we really wanted to create a company that we always wished that we worked for. That was kind of the inspiration for doing this. And for me, actually I have a background in environmental science. So for me, the environment has always been really important to me. So it was always important that whatever we do, we wanted to do in the most environmentally sustainable way that we knew how. So that's been, from the very beginning, an important piece of our business, and we've learned a lot. So for us, the challenge has been, well, how do we do that? How do we create that kind of company? And 17 years later, we're still working on that, but I think it's a never-ending journey.
Wonderful. That's a great introduction. We'll come back to you and let's go to Wendy Slaughter. Wendy, who are you? What do you do? And how do you define purpose for your business?
So, who am I? That's a loaded question, really.
I know.
There's a lot there with that question. I'm going to pull the screen a little closer. So, first off, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this panel. I really appreciate it. So I'm an Aquarius. So that's who I am, right? So I own several real estate related companies, all in Maryland. But for the purpose of our conversation today, I'm really going to stick with the Wendy Slaughter team. And our team is headquartered in Howard County. We are one of the top teams in Central Maryland. And like Wendy said, I've been in business for 14 years. I've had the team for 11 years. And very similar to Liz and Matt in the beginning, and the purpose in the beginning was to really disrupt the status quo when it came to real estate and start a company that was just really operating differently and create a culture that people loved to be a part of and contribute to. So that's those are our roots, I guess.
Right.
I feel like our purpose has evolved over time, and I'm still, as a lifelong learner and a curious person, we're still honing that.
Sure.
I did bring a prop. So, I mean,
Hold that up.
no. So that's
humanity through business. Yes.
Yeah. So I started a brokerage last year, and before I saw this mug, I went around and around. Actually, Holly is on this call right now. She's a friend of mine from undergrad, and Holly helped me a lot with naming the company. And I named it Elevate because, really that inspirational energy, I think, is really important, and not, it's not really just about the real estate, right? It's about how we live every day and how we interact with other people.
Right.
So I don't know that I answered all your questions, but
we're going to come back to you. Let's get our introduction of Josh here, and then we'll come back to you about that. Josh Massey. Hi.
Hi, Wendy Baird. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you also for inviting me to be a part of this. It's hard to go last. You guys said a lot of really great things that would be parts that I would pick and choose as well. I will start the way Wendy Slaughter started and say that I'm a Leo. So that seems to embody a lot of who I am.
Yeah, what does Ortis Academy do? Explain first kind of how you came into being and what you do.
Sure. So Ortis Academy works with young adults. I'll classify that as millennials and Generation Z. So we're talking 15 to 35-year-olds, and teaching them how to make smart financial decisions through interactive gameplay, online engagement, online coursework, and a pretty thriving community. So, it's a little bit beyond financial literacy. We talk a lot about the social and emotional sides of why we spend money, what do we value, how do we make decisions, and then how do we make sure that we understand what those values are before we then go spend money, right? So a big part of building that was nobody had ever given us the skills as young adults on how to actively make decisions. There was a lot of trial and error, a lot more error than trial, if I'm being honest. And then, to build off what Liz said, when my partner and I decided to start this business, we had both kept pretty good records of kind of companies that we had worked for. And the company I worked for prior, I actually had a notebook that when I opened it the normal way, it was all the things that I would do that were similar to the leader of that company. And then if I flipped it over and I opened it backwards, it was all the things I would do different. And I realized that I needed to go continue back to work for myself when the number of things that I would do different started to interrupt and be more than the things that I would do similar.
Oh, love that.
Interesting activity for me.
That's great. So, so how did you come to define your purpose. Josh, I'm going to stick with you since we just learned about what you do. And why was that so important?
Yeah, it was really this like guiding light, this compass. So the logo for our company is a compass with direction pointing east, right? And so ortis is a Latin word for the word east, or revolution, or new beginning. And so it was really about how can we create a revolution in the financial education space. And so that was kind of the starting point for what the mission was. And it kind of grew from there to be, I think the final version that we landed on is that we believe that in order to have a meaningful life, you have to be financially intelligent. And financially intelligent being understanding the social and emotional side as well as the mechanics of money. And so that really has just kind of become what it is that we strive to do in every component or every product, everything that we launch is the goal to help somebody create financial intelligence.
Love it. Okay, great. And Wendy, can you state kind of sort of what your purpose is? I know you said it's evolving, but what would you say your purpose is right now?
It totally is evolving, and I appreciate the conversations that we have, as a group, because, I had said earlier in a different conversation that we don't have it up on the wall, right? And Josh was like, we do have ours on the wall. And I was like, I think I need mine on the wall.
Well, you've got it on a mug.
Well, yeah. So this really does say a lot about what our purpose is. Other ways to say it are to inspire, to leave people better off than they were prior to interacting with us. And then how does that get baked into everything that we do? And so over the past 11 years that I've had the team, we continue to hone. We continue to go in and reinvent so that we are on purpose. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I love that. You kind of, when we were talking, you kind of likened it to the golden rule, and I love that comparison as well. And Liz, what would you, well, you have your purpose written down. Will you share that with us, please?
Well, what's funny about the golden rule is that we actually, that's backwards.
No, it's not for us.
No, it's not. Oh, okay.
No.
It's backwards for me. We actually have a golden rule at Indigo.
Love it.
Because we're a printing company, and
the Indigo golden rule. I love it.
Yeah. It's we don't look good unless you look good, which kind of gets to one of our purposes, which evolved over time. So this really isn't where we started out. And one of the purposes is beauty and craftsmanship. So for us, it was very important for us to really have a high quality product, which isn't, I mean, every printer says that, but we actually did have to consciously make certain decisions on what kind of equipment we were going to buy, what kind of paper we were going to buy, and made decisions that caused us to not be as profitable because we wanted to have higher quality. So that was important to us. So it helped us shape sort of our strategy and how we were going to move forward as a company. The other two that we have on our wall. So this is what's actually on the wall. There's 4, but this is 3.
Yeah.
The second one is into goodwill, and that's where our environmentalism comes in. But we wanted it to be goodwill that encompassed both environment and community, and our team. And so because we cared for our team and our customers and our community and the environment, so it's everything together. And then the third one revolves around innovation, but not in like a techie sort of way, but kind of in a always striving to improve. I guess we could call these more values than purpose. But it's helped us as a company stay focused on what we are going to do and not do as a company.
I love that. And I remember you guys being very clear about that way back, and actually helping to educate clients like me about the kind of paper that I'm using and the ink that I'm using, and how when you're using paper that you're actually reforesting the earth as you're using resources. That's pretty cool. So we all have been, stuck behind our screens in all these Zoom meetings in the last 2 months because of this pandemic. And it's made a lot of people think about shifting. Can you tell us a little bit about what's been going on with your businesses?
Our industry has been rapidly changing for well over a decade. And that pace of change dramatically increased over the past 2 years. So life has been kind of challenging. And so this crisis, the COVID crisis, we're now down about 65% over last year. And so now we find a tough situation even tougher. So I don't really know what to say, except that purpose, well, I'll back up. Matt and I have talked to other business owners, both in the industry and out of the industry. And one thing that we have been hearing a lot is that it just doesn't feel worth it. Like, just being in business just doesn't feel worth it. And I think that Matt and I would be much more tempted to feel that way if it weren't for purpose. So I think that purpose is what's keeping us in the game right now.
Yeah. Wow.
I
Love
think
that.
I think, so you sent a bunch of questions, and one of them, although it didn't specifically ask this, it was kind of getting at, well, in these tough and challenging times, do profits suddenly take precedence over purpose? And the answer is sort of yes and no. For me, profits are kind of like oxygen for a human being. You have to have them in order to survive. And when you're suddenly if you suddenly find yourself in a position where, as a human being, you're underwater, it's sort of like asking that person, well, what's more important, your purpose, like as a lifeguard, or getting oxygen in that moment? So it's sort of like, well, that's kind of a silly question.
Are you saying that purpose then would be the will to live, to get above the water, if we're using this analogy?
Yeah, purpose would be the will to get above the water, but the profits are what's going to keep you alive, and there's just no way around that.
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest part.
So we're navigating that and trying to figure out how to make that work.
Right. Josh, what was that?
I was just going to chime in and say that, having the fuel in the tank, the profits in the bank, right, will allow you to get back to fully committed to your purpose, right? And I know you well enough to know that you haven't cast aside your purpose by any means.
No.
Right.
But
So
we're in the same boat.
go ahead, Josh, finish that thought.
No, I just said we're in the same boat as Liz.
Same boat, yeah. So Liz, I know that you've also come up with some creative ways to shift things a bit. Can you share some of those ideas with our group?
Well, one of the things we did when this all first started was we had a client, actually it was a new client, we'd never done work with them before, who was looking, they're a distillery, and they were looking to convert their distillery to making hand sanitizer. And they were looking for somebody to print their labels, so we offered to do that. The first order we offered to do for free, but then they ended up placing other orders because they were actually selling the product. So we've had orders since then. And we've had another distillery reach out for the same thing. On a side note, a lot of printers have been really trying to go after COVID-related, specifically COVID-related materials, like signage for floor graphics and signage and stuff. we had to make a conscious decision to not really go after that because it wasn't a very good fit for our specific business. I don't know if that's was necessarily a purpose thing, although in the sense that we wanted to make sure that our company was a place we wanted to work, we also wanted to make sure that we were making a product that we felt good about and that our employees felt prepared and skilled to do, and that we had the right equipment to do. So in that sense, the purpose was what drove that decision.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I love from the Conscious Capitalism Field Guide is that they say that purpose, they define it as the intersection of strengths, passion, impact, and reward. So if the strengths aren't what is driving your business there, and the reward, I mean, that's not necessarily driven by purpose. So in a sense, you're looking at all those components when you're making these decisions about what to do next. Wendy, can you tell us about how this change over the last couple months has affected you, and how are you thinking about purpose, and is it helping? Is it driving you?
For sure. Yeah. I shared the same story or response with a smaller group who are on this call. You know, during the first few weeks of this health crisis, you know, personally, I was really, it's hard to describe, and I know a lot of people on the call felt the same way, but I felt disoriented. I had a lot of anxiety.
Absolutely. You are not alone there.
Yeah, it just, I mean, yeah, it's, I talk about walking into a dark room without a flashlight, right? And the water analogy, I'm going to use that, Liz and Wendy. You know, anytime we talk about water, I think about you, Wendy Baird.
Yeah.
Wendy's company, Insight 180, is a marketing company. They're located in Ellicott City, in historic Ellicott City. And I was actually there during the first floods. I was there with my husband. So the water analogies aren't great.
Except Aquarius are the water bearers too. So.
Right? I know, so we got to bring it.
That's right.
So for those few weeks, those first few weeks, I felt a lot of pressure that I'm sure was self-imposed to have all the answers for my team. And, you know, there are 13 of us here, and then we have our clients who wanted to know, what should we do? Should we let people in our homes? Should we take our homes off the market? Should we be looking at homes? And I took a very different approach during that time and said, no, nobody should be near anyone, right? Let's figure out what's happening first. And that was not popular, I would say, in my industry. But it was, you know, it was my gut reaction. Anyway, back to purpose. So for those first few weeks, again, it was very difficult. And somehow in that next week, I felt this settling and like an anchoring again, and a calm, like, not that I'm like that all the time, I will be honest, you know, 80% of the time I'm okay. The other 20%, that's for a different panel. But the purpose came into play, and that purpose of elevating humanity through business and inspiring people authentically, you know, not in a tone deaf way, in a relatable way. I just was like, there are other ways to do this. You know, just because we're not interacting with clients right now in our traditional way, we were on calls with them daily, Zoom calls.
Yeah.
And those were opportunities for us to help people feel like, even if we didn't have the answer, it was going to be okay.
You spent a lot more time with one-on-one client interactions. Yeah. Yeah. So did we. I wanted to ask you, because you manage a staff of 10 to 13, something like that. What?
The business model is different in real estate. So I only have 2 in addition to myself, full-time employees.
Yep.
The agents are 1099.
Okay, but still they're working with you and they know how you work. How do you communicate purpose with your employees? That was one of the questions that was in the chat, and I'm curious about tying that into this.
So it's interesting because I think somebody, Wendy, I think it was you, said something about being a magnet, like purpose can be a magnet. Did
Yeah.
you say that? Okay.
Yeah.
I think that being authentically who you are is definitely the best way to live, right? Just everybody on the call, please start doing that right away if you're not already. And when you do that, you are a magnet for the right, you attract the right people into your life. So that can be staff, that can be agents, that can be clients, that can be friends, you know, it's all of it, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to purpose in the business, and this is where I have work to do, I think I've attracted people who have similar values, have the same core values.
Sure.
And so it's naturally already there in our bloodstream.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't need to be constantly discussed. It's baked, it's woven through the whole thing.
I know, I hear baked in for you a lot. And I think that's a really, that's a great way to say it too. It's part of the culture. And I
Yes.
know that you do a lot of culture work too. So we'll talk more about that. Josh, how about you? How is your relationship with your business's purpose during this time of change?
Yeah, so our main client was schools and youth organizations, and that all dried up really, really fast. And everybody's on lockdown, and you know we were booked up through the summer and well into fall, and you know summer is pretty much all of that has been canceled for us. A few have gone online, but very few. And fall we're still kind of up in the air. So we had to determine, knowing that we weren't going to be getting a lot of income coming in, how do we pivot, right? How do we stay relevant?
Right.
And so we had started to pursue just before this, we had started like going into small businesses and working with ways to develop financial intelligence kind of as a financial wellness benefit for small teams. And so we just kind of leaned into that a little bit more and have found a little bit of success in that area. But really early on, you know, we as a team, we're a small team. We've got me and two other people full time, and then a handful of interns and then contractors as well. So grand total, I think we're at 7 or 8 people. And just kind of said, what is it that we want to accomplish, right? Right now, the world is in disarray. We could see the writing on the wall that if this stuck out, people are going to need financial intelligence more now than they ever did. And so we decided within the first few days to just take down all the paywalls on our program, on our course. And we went on a huge marketing campaign, made a new website as fast as we possibly could, and said, anybody that wants access to it, go to our website, type in this code, and have at it, right? You've got kids at home that need this sort of education. You know, we have this sort of education. It's wholly online. Use it, right? That's what it's there for. Right? And so it was one of those decisions of we weren't going to be making any money anyway, so we might as well just be the good that we needed to be and make some sort of impact and change, however possible.
Wow. So what has the response been?
So we decided that we had to at some point limit it. So
Sure.
the number 1,000 people, figuring like we wouldn't hit that, and we haven't yet, candidly. So please feel free to share and take advantage. But we've gotten to about 700 people, which is great. And the feedback that we've gotten from a lot of people has been amazing and outstanding, right?
Yeah.
I have a young daughter at home. She's only 4, but we've had a lot of parents that have chimed in and said, you know, this has been great. While the school system was trying to figure out what was going on, I could still have some tool that was providing value and education to my high schooler who was home.
Wow. That's great. So Guys, let me ask you, what are some of the businesses that you have noticed that you've been inspired by who have really been sticking to their purpose? Does anyone come to mind for you? Or what is it that, you know, like we're all kind of in this space right now where put your own mask on first and then what? Like, I know we had talked about this before, that sometimes you feel you got to do something, right? So, you know, we started collecting fabric to make masks for getting a team going. And, you know, we just wanted to do something. And that has nothing to do with branding. And yet, part of our purpose is to help bring others' authentic visions to life and authentically do so. So, you know, we were bringing some delight and joy and helping in what ways we could. So, who have you noticed? What have you done? What's made you help you get through this? But any other folks that you can think of that relate to purpose specifically? Thinking.
Well, one company that I've been inspired by is Zingerman's up in Michigan.
Yeah.
And they've written, Ari, who's one of the owners and co-founders, has written a lot of books that I've read quite a few of them and find them very inspiring. I highly recommend anything that they've put out. And visiting, they have they're actually a food company. They have restaurants, they do catering. They also have a training arm where anybody can go there for training, which Matt and I have gone out there and done a training on visioning.
Nice.
And I'm inspired by them because their big thing is hope. That you just have to have hope in a better future. And that's something that we're working on here, is instilling hope for ourselves and also for our team, because our team has to believe that there's hope. Otherwise, why bother? So yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
One of the things that Zingerman's is doing right now, as they've pivoted, is they in the past they've only offered in-person training, and now they're doing webinars for a highly reduced rate compared to their normal fee. So I would recommend checking out their website and taking advantage of what they have to offer right now.
Yeah, I love that. And that's a way to potentially pivot while they're still sticking with their purpose. Interesting.
As you continue to focus on the why and purpose of your businesses, how do you stand apart from companies who do not seem to have the same code of ethics, but may still emerge as a strong presence in the community?
I'll dive in. So financial literacy as a space, as an industry, is a really crowded market, and there are a lot of people that have been at it for a really long time. And when I step back to think about it, right, if somebody had solved this problem, there wouldn't be a need for my business to exist. And so I don't know, it's a little challenging, right? Because, you know, there are people in this space that are making money off of people not being educated from a financial perspective. And so we get opportunities a number of times to partner with organizations that would be easy for us to make a quick buck, but wouldn't be aligned with our purpose. And so it's been a challenge for us to kind of lean into that and use that as the direction. So I don't know that exactly answers the question, but being more focused on what it is that we're doing and why we're doing it and what gets us up out of bed every morning and drives us to do it is more important to me and to us as a team than what any other company's doing.
I love that. And that actually kind of goes with the second part of Maria's question. During times of adversity, what's your advice for remaining focused on the core values that drive your company and not getting discouraged in what the competition is doing? Wendy, what do you think?
So I have a comment about that, because I'm in a space that, and I've shared this before, honestly, that I almost didn't get into the industry because the reputation is at least the old school reputation. There are a lot of really good local realtors who we co-op with and we do business with, and I love working with them. But there are other teams that are all about the check, and they're not really about their client's best interest. And it is hard for us, like Josh is saying, you know, it can be, if you look over in that direction, right? If you take your eyes off of who you are and what you're doing, look over there, and sometimes you can't help it, right? Because it's right in your face.
Yeah.
It can be discouraging to see that some of these companies are financially successful, or what, you know, somebody would call them to be people would say that they are financially successful. For me, I shift if I go to that space, which I rarely do anymore just because I've been doing this for so long. But if I go to the dark place and start thinking about other teams and what they're doing or not doing or how they should be doing, then I just kind of shift gears and I think, well, I feel bad for the client because they thought they were going to get A and they're getting B, right? They're not getting what they thought they were going to get. So I feel bad for the client, and it just fuels me to continue to do what we're doing. And, you know, through the work that we do, we're showing people that you can have a totally different experience.
Right.
When you are creating a new future for yourself, and a move is part of creating that new future.
Love that.
And I think that leads into a question from Deirdre. She has been listening to the conversation and thinks that she's hearing that purpose is evolutionary. It sounds, you know, how do you work with that? Is it a constant communication with your team, with yourself?
Well, it's something that I struggle with because I think somewhere along the way I picked up on the idea that purpose had to be static and that you had a purpose and that's what it was and you had to focus in on it. And I never was able to laser in on something so specific. So I think for me, it is evolutionary. It does flow. I think there's sort of a broad purpose, but there's a lot of stuff that can be a part of that. I'm not really sure how to put it in better words. I do want to jump back to the question earlier that had to do with being discouraged by other people, other companies in the market who may not necessarily have purpose, being driven by a purpose other than profit, and it is discouraging. Especially when, well, in our industry, pricing is pretty, like, a lot of customers really just care about the price. And there's really not much getting around that. I think that for us, we really have to just not worry about what other companies are doing, because that can be really discouraging. And so it's funny that you showed a Simon Sinek video earlier. One of the, I'm not going to quote him because I'm not going to quote it correctly because I don't remember exactly what he said, but Simon Sinek once was talking about how your competition really is yourself, and that you should constantly be working to improve yourself, which is one of our values as a company.
Yes.
So it's not about what our competition is doing, it's about what we're doing and how we could do that better.
I circled it in orange. That's exactly the part. It's, what did he say? Who's your competition? We replied, no idea. What if the next time someone pushes, well, what makes you better than your competition? We replied, we're not better than them in all cases. And what if the next time someone asks, well, why should I do business with you then? We answer with confidence because the work we're doing now is better than the work we were doing 6 months ago. And the work we'll be doing 6 months from now will be better than the work we're doing today, because we wake up every day with a sense of why we come to work. We come to work to inspire people to do things that inspire them. I love that. That was that whole section on competition.
Yeah.
Super. That's neat. I saw in the comments, Hung Bin was sharing how he's inspired by the machinery industry of Taiwan, and how hundreds of engineers and business owners, many who were competitors, worked together in late January to assemble 50 medical mask machines to boost the production tenfold in a month. And he shared an article in the chat, which is great. Yeah, I love that too. One of the things that we needed to do, I mean, it was that looking for good news. And I kind of jokingly sang "Tell Me Something Good" at the beginning of this to test the mic, because, you know, it's just like, we want to hear good news. We want to hear what people are doing that are inspiring, that are inspirational, because I think that's what conscious capitalists around the world are trying to do, that it really, you know, people and planet really is more important than profit. But we need profit as well to survive. So it is definitely, it can be a conundrum. So I'd love to ask, just go ahead, Sandy. Yeah,
Wendy, that's great, because Beth Harbison with Sobar was sharing that their pivot in this time of the health crisis related to purpose is that we are starting to send out Sobar drink boxes for delivery. We had so many events cancel, and this is a way to provide our product, especially as the delivery of alcohol from restaurants has become available.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how many companies and people are really taking a step back and trying to, you know, maintain their purpose, but continue to be able to manage the bottom line.
Yeah, I love it. So now I'm going to challenge the panel, and you know, folks, feel free to jump in if you have some questions. But like, Josh, what question do you have for Wendy or Liz? Or Liz, what question do you have for other panelists? Or Wendy? Because it's funny, when we were prepping for this last week, you guys were all like, yes, I totally agree with that. I get the struggle. But like, what do you want to know, or what are you inspired by your fellow panelists? Putting you on the spot.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I think Liz and Josh, and I could say more about the Wendy's and Sandy as well. But you said panelists, so I'm going to listen.
Go for it.
I think that they're both rock stars. Like, I am in a different industry, and, you know, our numbers all probably look very different. And I am incredibly grateful for their willingness to share honestly about how they're dealing with these issues that we're all facing as small business owners right now. It's so incredibly helpful to me. So I just want to thank you both for that. I said this the last time. I'm trying to think of something specific, and the first thing that comes to mind is, Liz, your Instagram account. Like, when you talk about your competition and you talk about it's all about price for some people, that I think that's true in any industry. That's true for me too, right? That's not my client. I'm not a discount brokerage. I'm not a discount real estate service. So when you talk about that, I get that. And what I love about like how you're communicating that on Instagram in such a visual way, everybody should follow them on Instagram. You can see how, like, I want to reach in and touch the products. Like, you can see how velvety and delicious they are, and the cool designs that you're, like, the new messaging, the updated inspirational messaging on the designs, you know, the products that you're making for your clients are good. And I think all of us need to be careful about what our like media diet. And so I've made sure that my Instagram account is carefully curated. I have weeded some people out. So, you know, I think seeing those things and seeing you pressing forward during this time with good stuff is awesome.
And talk about Instagram and Facebook and all of that. Wendy Slaughter, you are going to be on a panel being recognized for your social media because it's inspirational, and you've been calling out other inspirational businesses, and it's such a great thing to see. So cheers to you as well. Josh, Liz, anything you want to add there?
I'd like to say that I'm very inspired by Josh and Wendy because of their consistent positive attitudes and kind words, which go a long way. Very meaningful. Thank you.
Yeah, sure thing.
You asked earlier about businesses that we've been impressed by, and I didn't know that this question was coming, and I hesitated because the people on this call are the people that inspire me, right? You know, I know that times are tough in the print industry, and Liz is like stuck to it, man, and just like stuck by her purpose and kept pushing forward. And you know, we're on calls where we all share stuff really vulnerably, and I've seen the ups and downs, and it's great to, you know, see that perseverance like shine through, right? And I know that it will continue to get better, right? And Wendy, I know that bucking the system and saying like, no, we're not doing, you know, in-person, you know, house tours for everybody was a struggle for you, and you know, sticking by that, knowing that that was what needed to be done in order to be safe for the people that you represent, right, is paramount right now. And you know, I don't think that a lot of people in that industry did that. Right? And so again, both kind of come back to that purpose and that higher drive to continue to do better, and it's constantly inspiring. So thank you both.
I'm totally inspired by all of you. I'll tell you, Liz, also your thoughtfulness and the perseverance that you've shown. Like, I feel like you're one of my guides when it comes to working on conscious capitalism, and I truly appreciate that. And Josh and Wendy, same thing. It's so wonderful to have you here and sharing, because I know that you're just real, transparent people, and I, for one, think that that's what more of the world needs. Like, until we can really be our real selves and you know, do what is most important to us so that we can have the most impact. I mean, that's where we need everybody to be, right? Sandy's nodding her head. I know.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I'll just add that, you know, your authenticity from all three of you is so inspiring. And I
Yeah.
really appreciate your candidness and your honesty, and with, you know, not only your successes, but your struggles too.
Yeah. So what we're going to do, so I had a private message was sent to me. And so this is a request for someone who's special to me, so I'm going to do it. So one of the posts that Insight 180 did when we were struggling with trying to figure out what to do next, it's like, I don't want to hear any politics. I don't want to hear of the bad news. Like, please tell me something good. And it made me think of Chaka Khan. So we started posting a different version of that song, which is, tell me something good. Tell me, tell me, tell me. So I'm a singer on the side. That's what like my true love is. But I think part of purpose in conscious capitalism is being your authentic self. So there you have it. That's what we do. I think, you know, in a small way, when we think about our businesses as being healing sources, healing balm for the planet, you know, it sounds very soft and feminine, but maybe it's about time. I kind of love that idea, but you know, we embrace all sides of it. I love this group and what it's bringing forth. So I hope that you all have appreciated it. And let's just thank our panelists. And before you go, we would love to invite Tanya Rapaz to tell you guys a little bit about our chapter and invite you to join us.
All right. So hi, I'm Tanya Rapaz, and I'm on the board of C3MD, and thank you all for being here. And Wendy, I do have something good to tell you.
Yay.
I want to thank everyone for their incredible generosity. To date, we have raised $300 for Columbia Community Cares, which is a grassroots organization that provides food and basic necessities for the community right here. Wendy and Sandy, thank you for this amazing panel. Thank you, panelists. You've given us so much to think about.